All right, everybody. Welcome back to Gridiron Gang, a Detroit News Lions podcast. Today is Thursday, April 9th, 2026, and we've got a very special episode for you guys today. One of my favorite episodes to do each year, even though we've only been doing this podcast 2 years. I really enjoyed it last year. Excited to do it this year. Yeah, 2 for 2. We're going to do a live mock draft on today's episode with the intention of just kind of giving you guys our thoughts throughout every step of the draft, whether it be early, whether it be late. You know, is there an opportunity for the Lions to trade up here? Is there an opportunity for the Lions to trade back? So it's going to be myself, Nolan Bianchi, my partner in crime, Richard Silva. Richard, how are you?
I'm doing well.
And we are going to go collaboratively on this one. So I actually like these ones a lot. Typically, we try to shake it up. Sometimes we'll go back and forth. Sometimes we'll collaborate. Sometimes, I think there have been times we've done like 2 picks or we've gotten a third person in. But it's just going to be Rich and I today. And we're going to be going pick by pick. And we're going to have to agree on the pick before we decide to make it. So if you are listening right now, we do have the PFF mock draft simulator set up so that if you go on YouTube or if you want to go to DetroitNews.com and watch the podcast episode there, you'll be able to kind of see the players who are available, the board, the players who've been picked already. So please join us on YouTube or on video at DetroitNews.com. Follow along if you'd like. And I think we should just hop right into it because this is a time of year where there's not a whole lot of news coming out. And I don't really know if there's anything at the top of your mind of things that we should just address right away, but nothing's coming to mind for me, so I'm thinking we should just jump right into it.
Yeah, I agree. Avonte Maddox is back. That happened this week, so good depth in the secondary. They continue to stack that. We didn't talk about this off camera, but I remember last year we each had like one pound the table where it was like we could override the pick.
And yes.
So let's do that. So you get one, I get one.
That works for me. Yeah, Avonte Maddox, I'm going to be honest, I did not expect him to come back after some of the signings that they made. Christian Azine, they brought back Thomas Harper. Still, I think it's a really, really strong depth move for them because he ended up, I think, starting 3 games last season, but he played most of 4 games, and he was really, really good in every game except Pittsburgh. I think he allowed some splash plays, but for the most part, again, as a guy who can play safety, play a little bit of nickel, maybe play a little bit outside corner in a real pinch, again, don't want to like overrate the signing, but I think they've done a really good job in the secondary of just kind of loading it with guys who seem like they have real potential to contribute. And Avonte Maddox put that on tape for the Lions last year, so even better.
Yeah, I mean, after they signed Chuck Clark, I was like, okay, so Maddox isn't going to be here next year. But the fact that you have both of those guys now coupled with Harper, like you said, I mean, those 3, like Chuck Clark has 80 starts in his career. Like, I think any of those 3 guys, if they have to start a game or a stretch of games for you this year, I don't think you really feel bad about it.
Yeah. All right, let's hop into the mock draft simulator here. We've got the Las Vegas Raiders on the clock at number 1. This is the only pick in the draft that doesn't seem to have much debate or speculation around it. They're going to draft Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback out of Indiana, the Heisman winner, sensational season, takes Indiana to the promised land under Curt Cignetti. And he's going to be a Las Vegas Raider, barring something completely insane that nobody foresees.
I'm using my pound the table and putting Jeremiah.
Ty Simpson.
Yeah, exactly. I was under the impression the whole offseason that Mendoza was just going to be one of the guys that starts week 1 of his rookie year. But after they signed Kirk, I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. And could be a good thing. I know it's debate. It's debated over whether or not what's better or worse. But I mean, out of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, 7 of them, I don't know, or something like that, didn't start they sat. So
if Fernando Mendoza is completely healthy and is not the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders in week 1, I will do something outrageous. I don't want to say I'm going to eat my hat because I like this hat.
I don't think it's that crazy at all.
Yes, it is. Did you watch Kirk Cousins the last 2 years?
Yeah, but you're not going to ask him to start 17 games.
Doesn't matter.
You can't
put that man out there.
They also gave him $20 million.
Well, I'm not going to read into that too much. All right, Fernando Mendoza. 1-1 to the Las Vegas Raiders. There we go. On the clock. This is where the draft gets interesting. New York Jets, number 2. I think the hype train right now is saying Arvell Reese is maybe going to be the guy, but one of the things that we did at the Detroit News this week, we mentioned last week, we're doing our 23 prospects in 23 days, basically just highlighting guys who could potentially be available for the Lions with their first round pick, whether that be via trade up or trade back. And I was doing David Bailey, and I was honestly kind of really shocked to see how infrequently mock drafts and big boards had him outside of the top 4, top 5, because I really, for and maybe it's just like a prospect fatigue type of thing after Arvell Reese and all these guys at the top of the draft crushed it at the combine. But I was a little bit surprised to see how consistently he was up in these top 2, top 3, top 4 conversations, considering that it does feel like Arvell Reese and Ruben Bain have had more hype throughout the draft process. I'm thinking kind of edge rusher here, whether that be Arvell Reese, David Bailey. I don't think you go linebacker here if you're the Jets, but what are you thinking here?
For a long time, I've leaned Ruben Bain just because I think like Ruben Bain is the safer, and especially because we know how Aaron Glenn likes his defenses, like that thicker, stauncher against the run, sets a hard edge guy. That's more Bain than it is Bailey. Bailey's more speed and quicker. But as much as I've liked Bain recently, I think I lean towards Reese here. I mean, not that who they have now is like a kick butt crew, but if you add Reese into a group that has Asai, who they signed this offseason, and Angbari, who they brought from the Packers, like okay, like I could see the vision a little bit. You got like three or four guys that are like starting caliber, so I would lean Reese.
They also drafted Demario Davis. So my thing with that would be, even if you're thinking, okay, this guy's gonna play off ball linebacker, like I think they signed 2 guys, perhaps that might
they brought
block
in
that as well.
They brought in, like you said, Demario Davis, and their other starting linebackers are Kiko Maui-Noa and Michael Walker.
Okay. You're saying Arvell Reese. I think we've been pretty consistent with that up in the top 2 or 3 here. I think David Bailey has a very, very, very strong chance to go here. I think maybe if they're just like thinking about years down the road or even immediately, like Sonny Styles is a guy who can make an instant impact, but also because of the linebacker that they've kind of been signing, I'm curious to see if they would get an out and out like off ball linebacker when you can have a guy in Reese who can do a little bit of both. The other thing I'm wondering here, probably haven't really seen this a whole lot, but is this like Mansour Delane territory? Like could that be like a complete shocker? I don't really see it happening, but I feel like it's probably somewhat in play.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think it's especially for a secondary that didn't have any interceptions last year. And if McCoy was healthy, I think he didn't play this last year, obviously. I think if McCoy was healthy, he'd be comfortably a top 10 pick and like maybe even in play here if he just repeated what he did in 25, or excuse me, what he did in 24 and 25. But to answer your question, no, I think either of those corner guys would be a little bit of a reach here up at 2.
Arvell Reese it is. I think the interesting thing, and I noted this in my David Bailey analysis, which will be out Wednesday night, Thursday morning. It's a draft where we feel like we know a lot of guys at the top, but also it's a draft that there's not a lot of consensus on. I feel like, at least compared to certain years where you're like, okay, this team is going to take this guy. This team is probably going to take this guy. This team, there's just not a lot of that, and that lends itself to chaos, especially at the top. And then once there's chaos at the top, guys start falling, everybody starts losing their minds, and crazy things happen. So we'll have to see what happens there. But that's why I kind of think, maybe a cornerback is potentially in play as high as number 2. Sure. The Arizona Cardinals here, I think they've been heavily mocked to be a team that could be interested in a trade back here. We're not going to do trades just because it gets too silly. But, it says the Saints want to move back, or the Saints want to move up. The Ravens want to move up from 14. Chargers want to move up. Seahawks want to move up. I don't see that happening. Silly PFF. What are you thinking here? I think we've both been pretty consistent about giving them Maui-Noa, the tackle from Miami. But do you have any strong objections to that at this current point in time? They do need a linebacker. Sonny Styles is in play, obviously.
Right.
What do you think here?
Yeah, I think probably those two are at the top of my mind. The reason that I've leaned so hard towards Maui-Noa is they signed this offseason Elijah Wilkinson from the Atlanta Falcons, and he's penciled in to start at tackle right now. And I think he's I see him in a similar vein that I see like Larry Borum, and honestly maybe like one like half step like below Borum, of a guy that like you feel okay like if he has to start, but you're not feeling great about it. And they have Paris Johnson across from him. Paris Johnson, who former first rounder, still only 24 years old. If you pair Johnson with Maui Noah, I think you have one of the brightest tackle tandems in the NFL in
Mhm.
terms of guys that are still trending upwards. So that would be my pick.
The one thing I would also say about that situation too is it's like you don't want to have to force an offensive tackle in round one if you're a team like the Lions or if you're a team like the Cardinals. Taking Francis Maui Noah at 3 is not forcing an offensive tackle by any means. So I think you could take this and just comfortably be like, all right, well, if it doesn't work out, we didn't do anything wrong.
Right. And also, I mean, we're going to have this conversation with a lot of the tackles that could play guard. And I'm sure we'll talk about this when we're getting close to the Lions at 17. But Maui Noah is a guy that like could play guard. And let's say, like Borum, how I was just mentioning, where like he's kind of a starter. Let's say Wilkinson like really impresses in camp. Okay, then like Mamino could be a guard early in his career, and he could replace Isaiah Adams, who's their starting right guard right now in Arizona. So I think just adding an offensive lineman is beneficial, and I think Mamino is the best offensive lineman.
Cool. All right, number 4, the Tennessee Titans. A popular destination for Jeremiah Love. I feel like they have some other things to figure out before they go running back with the number 4 overall pick, but at the same time, it seems like the sentiment around running backs and running back value is kind of changing, particularly thanks to the success that the Lions have had drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. The fact that the Falcons probably don't regret drafting Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley killing it for Philadelphia. All of those things, I still think it's a bit rich, but their needs, at the top, maybe might not align with some of the top players available outside of edge rusher. In which case, I'm looking at Sonny Styles, I'm looking at Ruben Bain, I'm looking at David Bailey here, and I don't know. Do you have a preference out of those 3?
I would lean Styles just because I think the best case scenario for Styles is, and as we've talked about before, is like Fred Warner. And if anybody is going to get Sonny Styles to go from who he currently is to Fred Warner, how about the guy that was once upon a time Fred Warner's DC in Salah?
Yeah.
So that's why I would lean Styles in this spot, because I think using a top 5 pick on a linebacker, and I know we just talked about the whole positional value thing and running backs and this, that, or whatever, but I don't know. Like I think about it, I think Fred Warner's in a class of his own for linebackers, and then it's everybody else after him at the position currently in the NFL. And I think the unfortunate thing is if Styles isn't like that tier 1 guy, it's a little bit hard to justify using a top 5 pick on him. But like I said, because it's Salah and because he had a guy like Warner in his system for so many years, that's why I'm leaning there. But I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth because I do I wouldn't take a running back this high, especially coming off a season like they had where they have so many other issues. But I'm also putting my vote of confidence behind a linebacker, which is kind of the running back of the defense.
Well, and I think you could maybe justify edge a little bit more if they hadn't loaded up on that over the offseason. I know they added Jermaine Johnson, they added John Franklin Myers. So I think that pick makes a lot of sense. As much as I would love to give them Jeremiah Love. Although, on the other hand, you and I have had pretty bad runs of letting Jeremiah Love get out of control.
Love is coming off the board before 19 this
yeah,
or 18.
We're gonna try.
We're taking them at some point before that.
All right, let's do Sonny Styles at 4. New York Giants at 5. You and I have, I think, given Caleb Downs to the Giants at pretty much every opportunity in this mock draft, and I don't see why this one would be any different.
It's just with Maui Noah and Styles off the board, I feel like those are 2 guys, and Reese, 3 guys that I would probably prefer, maybe in that order, in Reese, Maui Noah, Styles for the Giants. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are other guys they can consider. Like, what about Carnell Tate, to pair with Malik Neighbors across from him, and now you have 2 guys, or maybe USC receiver who's slipping my mind right now, Mekhi Lemon, to replace Wan'Dale Robinson, who went with Dable to the Titans. But I just Downs makes a ton of sense to me. And again, the whole position of value thing. But we've seen John Harbaugh use these safeties so well in his 2 decades with the Ravens. So why not give him another one here?
All right. We won't think too hard on that one because we we are going to need to speed this up at some point or another here. But all right, on to the Cleveland Browns at number 6. I think this is actually where things do get really interesting because, again, I think that a lot of the teams at the top have such, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of intrigue, at least relative to like the teams 6 through 10 to me, just in terms of the number of different directions that some of these teams can go. Last time we did this, I had the 6th pick. I selected Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle from Georgia. Where are you at with this? I feel like they probably could go tackle here, whether that be Freeling, whether that be Fano, whether that be Caleb Lomu, whoever at this spot. I think it's probably a little rich for some of those guys, but Fano and Monroe Freeling, I could definitely see going in the spot.
I think if I was going to pick a tackle in the spot, it would be Freeling or Fano, and I think I would lean Freeling personally. But in the interest of us trying not to, just repeat what we did last time, what are your thoughts on receiver? Because Jerry Jeudy is the number 1 receiver, Cedric Tillman's their number 2, and in this scenario, it's their pick, right? It's their pick of the top 3 or 4 between Tate, Lemon, Tyson, and Cooper. I think for me, it would be between Lemon or Tate. Do you have a lean?
I'd probably go Tate.
I'm cool with that.
All right. Let's go Carnell Tate. They get to bring him down from right down the road. And yeah, as I made very clear in our last mock draft, Jerry Jeudy is not wide receiver. It's not a wide receiver 1. So, all right. Up next here, we have the Washington Commanders at pick number 7. Now they could be a destination for Jeremiah Love, and I'm kind of inclined to give him to him just because it's something that I feel like the Commanders would do. It's something that, again, I think you could make the argument that, hey, Jeremiah Love might be a steal at 7.
Sure. And they invested in the defense, right? They signed Kinlaw, Owe, Chanel, Chason, Nick Cross. I think free agency, they dumped a lot of money everywhere. They spent a lot of money in free agency, but they seem to really focus on the defense. So let's give them an offensive weapon. I think this is a perfect spot for Jeremiah Love.
Okay, let's do it. Woo!
We did it.
Feels good. I was nervous. I was nervous about our ability to get Jeremiah Love off the board before pick number 18.
It's funny here, though, as we go. I mean, Reese is listed as a linebacker, but is an edge rusher. But the 2 true edge rushers, Bain and Bailey, are still hanging out.
Yeah, I think that's probably. See that? Does that feel unlikely to you?
I mean, it's tough. We've talked about this before about how the no trades affect something like this because, I don't know, let's say the Browns didn't feel particularly they didn't care for tackle, and between Tate, Tyson, and Lemon, it's splitting hairs. So, could they have traded down to 9 and the Chiefs come get Ruben Bain or something like that? Maybe, but without the trades, it's a little bit difficult to do that. To answer your question, though, I think on draft night, I will not be surprised because I think both of these edge rushers are a little bit flawed in different ways. Bain, it's the arm length. Bailey, it's that he's a little bit lighter and maybe a later down player than he is an early down player early in his career. So no, I would not be totally shocked if we're sitting here at the back half of 10 and both of these, both of these guys are there.
Bailey does have some coverage ability. He didn't do it a ton. I don't think he ever did it over 100 snaps in one season or anything like that. But there were some snaps where he had 80, or some seasons where he had 80 snaps in coverage. I think this was the first year that he played a true defensive end role for that Texas Tech team after he transferred after his career at Stanford. I'm kind of inclined, if we're going to pick one of these guys, I'm kind of inclined to go Bailey for that reason. I just think he's a little bit more versatile. I think his pass rushing has a little bit more upside. And it's not like he's a complete zero against the run. And so I feel like given the traits, his traits versus Ruben Baines, I think it's kind of night and day. I don't know. From a pass rushing standpoint, I think I'd pick David Bailey 10 times out of 10 over Ruben Bain. But
would you rather Bailey or Mekhi Lemon?
Bailey.
You think you lean Bailey?
Sure. Because I think the Saints are sitting here going, "Oh my gosh, what a steal! Run the card in."
Sure. Yeah.
For David Bailey. So
I'm cool with that. Bailey, it is.
All right, Bailey to the Saints at number 8, which means we have the Kansas City Chiefs picking at number 9. They have traded all of their cornerbacks.
Yes, they have.
At least 2 of them. And so
They
away
let
we
one
go.
go, I guess.
They let one go. Mansour Delane, kind of a layup, or Jamal McCoy. I tend to go Delane at this point, even though I think Jamal McCoy might be a better prospect. Just the health stuff, the fact that he didn't work out at the combine, all that stuff kind of rolling into one kind of scares me a little bit. What are you thinking?
So if we are going to a cornerback, I would go Delane just because the health stuff. And granted, we don't know in our positions. We don't get to see like medicals and all that. I would go Delane. However, the Chiefs aren't a team that tends to draft corner high, and we did it last time. I had this pick last time, and I went with Delane. So, like, I think it's more than a fine pick. But in the interest of discussing it, I think this regime, if I'm not mistaken, has only drafted a corner on day one once, and it was Trent McDuffie. And I mean, it worked great. And now that you traded him, maybe you just draft his replacement, and it's easy as that. But the fact that they don't usually draft their corners early does give me a little bit of pause. And I do think like Bain would be pretty sick for them. But it would be between Bain or Delane for me.
I'm into Bain too. I was just kind of looking at their depth chart here. They don't really have a ton of outside of Karlaftis and Jones, which is a pretty dang good 1-2 on the defensive line there. But like the other side of the line could use a lot of work. So I'm perfectly fine with giving them Bain. And I also think this is potentially another situation just like the Saints where you're like, sweet, just run it up there, take him. Didn't think he'd be there. All right, cool.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I'm cool.
I'll go Bain.
I'm cool with Bain here, and I think the Bengals are not happy that Bailey and Bain just went back to back right before their pick.
Yeah.
Even though they did address edge a little bit by signing Mafe, but I think they would have, to steal your term, run the card up if one of those guys was there.
Yeah. The Bengals kind of need a lot of defense, defensive interior linebacker, safeties, or PFF listed needs here. They also need a guard, which has me wondering Spencer Fano or Vega Ione from Penn State. I think, again, this is not usually the territory that guards get taken, but the Cowboys did it last year with Tyler Booker out of Alabama. I believe it worked out pretty well. And then the Seahawks, they took Gray Zabel with a pretty high pick last year, interior offensive lineman, I think with a pick in the teens. And he was a stud. So I don't really think like that should really factor into the equation at all. Like if, again, especially in a draft like this where if you like a guy, just take him. So those are kind of some of the things I'm kicking around. What's on your mind here?
And I think if you're worried about the guard thing, someone like Fano, where even if you draft him to play guard, at least he has the experience at tackle where you could justify it a little bit more. Where I know you feel pretty good about having Orlando Brown Jr. and Amarius Mims as your tackles, but if one of them were to go down, I think you'd also feel comfortable bumping Fano out there. So I think Fano would probably be my vote here, given that Bailey, Bain, Downs, Styles are all 4 off the board. I think if any of those 4 are on the board here and available at 10, I would lean those over Fano. Thieneman is also on my mind for a second here. Kind of maybe give them like a Jesse Bates replacement that they haven't been able to find over the last handful of years. It's Thieneman or Fano for me.
Where these safeties go, to me, is one of the biggest storylines to watch in this draft, and not just because you and I have a personal rivalry going on over the draft position of the top safeties. But again, I feel like we see this every year. It's like Thieneman at 11, Thieneman 12, and then draft night, it's like round 2, 7 picks have already been made. Who's your best available? Yeah, Dylan Thieneman's still not going. Can't imagine why. And then all of a sudden, some team gets him at 40, and it's like, oh my gosh, how could this guy like? And I don't have to see it too many times. And we already have Caleb Downs going. On our most recent mock draft, I actually was the purveyor of safeties, and I took Thieneman, I believe, at 11, and then I took McNeil Warren, pretty high as well. I think in the early 20s. I don't know if I'm prepared to do that this time of year. In my thoughts, I don't know if these guys are going to actually end up going that early.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm fine with Fano.
But I don't know, man. I kind of like Ione. I think Like, because again, like I feel like there's a better chance that Ione is going to be good at guard than there's a chance that Fano is going to be good at guard. And yeah, if he's not good at guard, maybe you can try him at tackle. But is that what you want from the number 10 pick? I don't think so.
I would go Fano, but I'm not willing to use my pound the table. So if you want to use your pound the table for Vega,
well, I mean, we're gonna have to get this done, I think, without one of us using a pound the table. I really don't like Fano at this. Well, I guess what's Orlando Brown's contract looking like?
Oh, that's a great question that I don't have the answer to off the top of my head.
Because I do think that might matter quite a bit.
I'll look up Amarius.
He is set to be in Cincy through the next 3 years, I think.
And Mims through the next 2. All right, Vega.
All right.
There you go.
Didn't even have to use it. Just use good old fashioned logic and reasoning. All right, the Miami Dolphins at number 11. I think this, like I just mentioned, this is a position I gave Tiananmen. I think they're thrilled with the way the draft board has fallen thus far. You can have your pick of Delane, Tiananmen, Mekhi Lemon, Jermon McCoy. If you want to go Emmanuel Neal-Warren, maybe they think he's that good. Avion Terrell. A lot of different directions that they can go here, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that they're pretty happy that Mansour Delane fell to them at 11.
I think so. I will say, and maybe you feel the gap, and I would agree with you. So I think Delane is the pick here. I think the gap between the first corner and whatever you'd be able to get for the Dolphins they have the 30th pick, but also 43 like in that range. I think Delane combined with the receiver that you get either in the late first or mid second is better than Lemon and then whatever corner you get down there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's why I lean Delane, even though they do desperately need receiver help. I had this in the last mock draft, and they might have signed a receiver over the last 2 weeks, but at the time of writing that mock draft, every receiver on their roster combined last year had like 800 receiving yards, which is which is bananas.
Yeah, but I also don't think they're like trying to win this year. So I feel like you're probably just stacking. No, I agree, but I feel like you're probably just stacking the best player you possibly can.
Sure.
So let's go Delane here.
Let's do
11. All right, Dallas Cowboys up at number 12. They've been semi-active, not really that active. They traded for Rashawn Gary. They added strong safety Jalen Thompson. They added Kobe Durant from the Los Angeles Rams, but it's been a pretty quiet offseason for them, generally speaking. They could go a lot of different directions here. Might be too high for a defensive interior guy. Might be in position to take a corner. The PFF needs to have him at defensive interior, linebacker, and corner. Jermon McCoy is somebody that kind of jumps out to me. Again, Avion Terrell, one of these corners. I think I could see that happening there. Their safety position, on the other hand,
they've got
not as strong, maybe long term, but I do like those guys.
Agreed. I also am kind of considering offensive line again. It's the conversation we just had about Fano, where if you're the Cowboys, I think you feel good about Tyler Smith. You feel less good about Terrence Steele. I think you feel fine about Terrence Steele. If I'm not mistaken, Terrence Steele, I think, took a pay cut to stay in Dallas, and I'm probably purveying misinformation without knowing 100%. But I don't think, regardless, they don't feel spectacular. I don't think you don't feel set in Terrence Steele as one of your tackles of the future. So if you draft Fano to play left guard in place of TJ Bass this upcoming year, and then if Terrence Steele leaves in the coming years, he can go there. But with a team that had an offense as good as it was and a defense as poor as it was, it might be a little hard to justify using the 12th pick or wherever we're at here, the 12th pick on offense rather than defense.
But do you love any of these linebackers enough to do it?
It would probably not be a linebacker. It would be McCoy.
Probably be a corner. Yeah.
I think it would be McCoy or Tiananmen again, but we just had the Tiananmen conversation, so I'm cool with McCoy.
I like McCoy. All right. On to The Los Angeles Rams at pick number 13. To the victors go the spoils. They're not quite the victors, but the rich get richer. There's some sort of idiom that applies here. They have the Atlanta Falcons pick from last year. They could use wide receiver. They could use a tackle. They could use a linebacker. I love Monroe Freeling here.
I'm
giving them.
I think we just do it.
Okay.
I'm all in on that.
All right. Sounds good. Let's not think twice about it. Which is funny. So I will say, one of the funny things, I might have even brought this up on a recent podcast. One of the funny things is when you're doing a mock draft, you're like, we're doing this for purposes of the Detroit Lions, but we're drafting players that we like. And so it's like,
yes.
Most of the players that we like for the Detroit Lions are going to be gone by the time we get to the pick number 17 by nature of us getting those players off the board a little bit earlier. So
right, we both like Monroe Freeling. So in our mocks, Freeling is never going to be there at 17 because we both like him.
Yes, still possible though. I think I've seen enough variation with him that I believe kind of anything is possible at this point. The Baltimore Ravens at pick number 14. They could use some wide receiver help. They could use some interior offensive line help. They could use some linebacker help. I think Fano might make a little bit of sense here, but again, I don't think their long-term tackle outlook is bad.
Not necessarily. They have Stanley and Rosengard. Stanley is getting a little older. If I'm not mistaken, he's 32, so he's not.
Okay.
He's not ancient.
Okay. I think that's interesting. I think Fano is really interesting here then for them, even though they might not be thinking about it like that. We're basically applying all of these like positional needs to these teams, despite the fact that they, some of them tell us that they're not factoring them, but then some of them will like blatantly take a positional need. So there are some teams where we might be thinking about this the wrong way, but you can't catch them all. So we're just doing our best over here, folks. Yeah, I like Fano. I could also see another one of these wide receivers. I mean, it feels like they've been wandering the desert for the longest time of just these retread, veteran or aging guys. They took Zay Flowers a couple years ago. He hit. Do they? I don't think they go Mekhi Lemon for that reason because Zay Flowers might be at least prototypically or like size wise a little too similar, but Jordan Tyson, I think, has been falling down draft boards. Is this too high for an Omar Cooper? Denzel Boston? These are all questions to ask.
I think it's also kind of where I start to think about Sadiq a little bit. And they still have Mark Andrews, but they did lose Isaiah Likely. And they, like all teams in the NFL recently, have they are using multiple tight end sets. And currently, the only tight ends on their roster, I think, are Mark Andrews and Durham Smythe, at least tight ends that have, relevant experience in the NFL. So I think I start to think about Sadiq here. But
I'm in. You don't got to twist my arm.
I go Fano. I'm going to be honest. I go Fano.
Okay, cool. That's good with me. All right. We're going to take this opportunity to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
For 44 years, Varsity Ford in Ann Arbor has been more than just a dealership. We're a family, proudly serving yours. As one of the top volume Ford dealers in the world, we're proof that when you treat people right, they come back, generation after generation. And now we make it easier than ever with complimentary pickup and delivery for both sales and service. So you can buy or service your Ford without leaving home. Varsity Ford, driven by family, built on tradition.
All right, back here, segment 2 here at the Gridiron Gang podcast. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. I don't want to call this my flu game, but I was just at the dentist, had some numbness going on up until right before we started here. So I'm battling through it today. My tongue feels weird.
You're warrior.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's all. That was all I was looking for. Tampa Bay Bucks on the clock at pick number 15. Mekhi Lemon, we're going to give him another wide receiver. They love their first round receivers.
I think so. I'm thinking of a couple guys here. I think Omar Cooper.
I was being sarcastic, by the way. But
I'm not. Omar Cooper or Jordan Tyson as a Mike Evans replacement. I mean, think about. Their receivers right now is Chris Godwin, who amazing, like at one point in his career, but is getting older. Abuka, who fell off a cliff at the second half of the season, could still be really good. Like, to be clear, but after the Lions game, kind of from the Lions game forward, he fell off along with the rest of the Bucs season. And then Jalen McMillan, who I think is like a good player, but not a number one. So I think Tyson or Cooper would be in play for them. Not Lemon, because I think you already kind of have a version of Lemon with Igbuka. Sadiq, I think, is also, for me. I'm taking a weapon here, an offensive weapon, whether it's Sadiq, Tyson, or Cooper, and I think Sadiq works well with like where there's another tight end that's also good. Like he doesn't have to do all the tight end things. He could play a little bit like slot receiver while K-Dot and handles some of the more tight end esque inline stuff. So I think that's my 3 for this one: Sadiq, Tyson, or Omar Cooper Jr. But what say you?
I'll take Ken and Sadiq off the board.
Let's do it.
With that.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. That brings us to the New York Jets with their second pick of the first round at number 16. We give them Arvell Reese at number 2 overall. They could use a wide receiver here. I'm thinking Mekhi Lemon.
Is it too rich for Ty Simpson? Yeah,
I don't think so. I would put it past him.
I'm thinking about it because I think Simpson, he has traits, and also like the first half of his lone season as a starter last year was pretty dang good, and then November on wasn't so good. I don't know. What do you have any? Do you think it would be crazy?
I think the Jets are in a really complicated spot for that conversation because
Agreed.
I don't think Darren Muji feels any sort of way. Their general manager feels any sort of heat at all at this current point in time. I think Aaron Glenn's seat could not be hotter after the season that he had and what he did to the coaching staff after the year was over. I think his seat is very hot. I don't think he can afford to take a player.
It's probably not going to help right now.
Probably won't help him save his job this year, but also the head coach doesn't make the picks. So, does the GM be like, tough, I'm going to be here for at least 5 more years, and I think this guy's pretty good. So I'm going to take him, and if he doesn't make an impact till next year, I don't really care because I'll be here.
Right, and also things have there have been a lot of things that have changed. The Jets lost a bunch of games in the season, like you said. Aaron Glenn fired 75% of his coaching staff. But like, I just think back to last year, like when Woody Johnson, for kind of no reason at all, dunked on Justin Fields, where he got asked about Aaron Glenn, and Woody Johnson was like, well, what do you want him to do? His quarterback's Justin Fields, which is crazy. Like, I can't believe, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of what he said. I couldn't believe he said it, but it also kind of signaled to me like maybe Woody is less sees AG's seat as not being as hot as everyone else does. So I think, I think we go Simpson here.
Okay. All right. You know what?
Let's
Sign
do
me
it.
up.
Sign
Dan
me
Orlovsky
up.
would be proud. All right. The Detroit Lions at pick number 17. I feel like there's a lot of good players. Or let me scroll through here and see what we got here. All right. So I think Dylan Tianneman is in play. I'm just going to run through all the players who I think are in play here.
Agreed.
Safety Dylan Tianneman, linebacker CJ Allen from Georgia, Akeem Mesidor, defensive end from Miami, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety from Toledo, Keldrick Falk, edge rusher from Auburn. I think Avion Terrell, cornerback from Clemson, is in the mix. Blake Miller is a guy that you and I have liked throughout the process, the tackle from Clemson. Edge defender Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. Offensive tackle Caden Proctor. Quick sidebar on him. Daniel Jeremiah said the other day the Lions love Caden Proctor. Who was the other one?
Peter Schrager.
Peter Schrager.
Co-signed it.
Co-signed it. Yeah, they do love Caden Proctor. I don't buy it for a second. I don't know why. I've heard like the whole back and forth from Alabama to Iowa and all this other stuff just like does not strike me as like checking the boxes on the character stuff. And like they love guys who play bowl games, but they're gonna take a guy who just like transferred 3 times. Like I don't know. I just don't see it with them or with him and them. I'm kind of confused where all of this is coming from because the Lions do not leak, and the fact that this is out there is like, yeah, okay.
It is the fact that the Lions do not leak. Like that is part of it. But I think like on the field, it makes a ton of sense. I think Proctor, like out of all the 7 first round tackles that are like potentially could go in the first round, like in the run game, he's awesome, man. Like he like gets downhill and just blows people up. If he can get you, he's maybe not the best lateral mover, but if he gets straight line and he's running at a linebacker, he's going to decleat him. So I think on the field it makes sense. He would not be my pick here. Are there any others that you're thinking about as you scroll through?
Yeah, quite a few. Edge defender TJ Parker from Clemson, offensive tackle Max Ianashore from Arizona State. Caleb Banks, probably not just because of the foot injury, but somebody is going to get a steal just because of the way his draft stock is tanked because of that foot issue. Peter Woods from Clemson, again, I think the Lions are feeling pretty good about their defensive interior, at least going into this season, so probably wouldn't go in that direction either. Colton Hood, cornerback from Tennessee, somebody I'm looking at. Emmanuel Pregnon, guard from Oregon, and then offensive tackle Caleb Loma from Utah, and edge defender Zion Young from Missouri. I just named about 20 guys. What sticks out to you?
I think it's Blake Miller to me. He is just the floor. Comparing the 7 guys again, and I'm talking the 3 we've already selected and the 4 left with Miller, Proctor, Ihanachor, and Lomu. I think Miller's floor is the highest because he's been a 4-year starter for Clemson, was dang good as a 4-year starter, improved every single year at Clemson for the last 4. Has all the measurables, has the height, has the weight, has the arm length, height, weight, speed, blah, blah, blah. And that I think because he has the highest floor, we kind of think of him like, oh, he doesn't have the upside of like Proctor or Ihanachor or someone like that, or Freeling. But I think he also does have a little bit of that. Is it as high as those guys? No. But I think it could be in a similar area while still supplying a higher floor than any of them. So Miller would be.
But I don't know if we can say that we know he has the highest floor. I just think he's played a lot of games, which I think.
Which
you and I were discussing this yesterday. That could be looked at as like a positive or a negative. It's like, oh wow, he played all these games. He's coming in with all this experience, and then it's like, well, I would have liked to see him be a little bit better of a prospect after playing 54 starts. But
I think he did. He did. Like last year, if he came out,
sure.
like he was like a 2nd-round mock guy, and now he's like he did improve. You know what I mean? Now he's a 1st-round mock guy.
Yeah. He's up there. Ianashore's up there. I don't know if I really see the Lions taking any of these edge guys. I could see a safety. I could see a safety. Feels sacrilege to say. I could see a safety. I think just because of the uncertainty with Branch and Joseph, and then the emergence of the, or emerging importance of the nickelback, and the fact the Lions don't really have like a clear-cut guy for that, which again, that's seems to be something that will be done by committee. I like Ianashore a lot. Yeah, I think it would be Blake Miller or Ianashore.
Ihanachor is also my number 2, I think.
And he's actually, the thing I like about him, he didn't start playing football until 2021. So, he could be anything.
Yeah.
He could be a boat.
He could even be Blake Miller. No, I agree with you. Ihanachor has been playing football for 5 years, and the rapid maturation. And listen, I feel like because of maybe some of Brad Holmes's mid-round swings and misses in projects, that the idea of a guy that has only been playing football for 5 years is a little bit scary. But I think the difference between some of those guys and Ihanachor, and the reason why Ihanachor is a likely 1st-round pick and those guys went late day 2, early day 3, is that Ihanachor did do actual things in college. He was a 2.5-year starter. He started 5 games his first year at Arizona State, but was for the last 2 years was a starter, was a key piece of them being a top 30 rushing offense in each of those years. He blocked for Cam Scatterbo. He blocked for I think they averaged the 29th most rushing yards in the country last year. And he was also pretty dang good as a pass protector. I mean, he played Texas Tech this past year, and he didn't shut down David Bailey and Romello Height, but he only allowed 2 pressures. Granted, they were getting the ball out quick. I looked Arizona State's quarterback, Sam Levitt. That was the fastest time to throw of his career so far in college football of his 30 games. So they were definitely getting the ball out fast, but I think he passed that test. So I like Ihanachor or Miller. I'll leave it up to you.
I think I'm kind of Ianashore over Miller right now, just because of the upside, and I could see Brad Holmes falling in love with that too. I could see Brad Holmes being like, man, he's only been playing football for 5 years.
Sure,
he's been playing football since Blake Miller enrolled at Clemson.
Yeah.
And just for something different, we've been going on the Blake Miller train lately. Let's go Max Ianashore. I think he's at least this week. He's ahead of Blake Miller for me. So.
I think so. I was trying to iron down my tackle. I don't even want to call them rankings because it's just like you said, how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's that middle. I think Maui Noah we feel like he won't be there, whatever. You think he's a tackler or guard, whatever. But Freeling, Miller, Fano, Ihanacho, those 4, I think, is like the tier 2 in my brain. And I switch them every day, like how I feel about those 4 guys.
Yeah. All right. Iana Short, it is. And we are moving on to pick number 18 for the Minnesota Vikings, where Jeremiah Love is not available. Another thing we should have checked is before I made that pick. Actually, I can undo the pick, right?
Yes, you can.
Right. Let me undo the pick.
Potential trade back.
Yeah, just out of curiosity here. The Chargers are interested in trading back. What happened there? I'm 6,000 years old. The Cleveland Browns. Oh, what the heck? Chargers are no longer interested in trading back.
They pulled their offer. You didn't accept it.
Dang. The Browns will move up from 24. The Bears want to move back from 25. Bills at 26. Chiefs 29. Patriots 31. Seahawks 32. These are obviously computers, so who knows if that'll be a real thing or not. But are you comfortable moving down to 23, even if you got to miss out or roll the dice? Like, what's your kind of philosophy? Because I feel like I don't want to say they're in a no man's land, but it's like, gosh, you're not picking high enough to be like an early first round pick, and you're not picking late enough to be a late first round pick. You're just kind of in this weird mushy middle. And like, I know that doesn't really make any sense, but like, I almost wonder if that lends itself to trading back. Trades in general.
So if you're only going to move back like 5 spots, and let's say you see Ihanacho, Miller, Proctor, and Lomu like kind of all the same, like, yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, right? Like you move back 5 spots with 4 guys that you feel good about on the board, so you're probably going to end up with one of them. But I don't think I think Brad Holmes like will identify one of these guys, and I think he will love one of these guys, and I don't think he'll want to risk, if it is Ihanacho and he loves Ihanacho, he's not going to risk losing him and settling for Lomu or Proctor or whoever just to get back the 94th pick or whatever.
Yeah. What about trading up? Based on the way the board has fallen so far, I'm looking at 12 with Jermod McCoy. I don't know if the Cowboys would be interested in trading back, not for the Lions to take Jermod McCoy, but if they know, okay, Rams need a tackle. Brad Holmes knows his old buddy Les Snead, knows what he likes, knows that he might take the guy that he wants with that number 13 pick. Like, I probably wouldn't sit here today and tell you that I think you can easily justify it, but I don't know if I could advocate for that per se. Just given the nature of their third round and the fact that they don't have any third round picks. They do have an extra 4th round pick. That'll definitely help. Just kind of close the gap of day 2, or not day 2, but like early, middle round picks. So I wouldn't put it past Brad Holmes, but I also wouldn't expect somebody who, I'm trying to word this very carefully because I don't want to say that Brad Holmes doesn't act rashly on draft day, but I think he does get like really excited and probably, lets the rush of the draft like compel him to trade up. And so, does that happen at 12 if he's looking at this and saying, oh, Monroe Freeland's still there, I don't think the Cowboys are going to take him. Is that a place we can move up?
I think 11 or 12 would be the spot, and maybe not even 11 because, like you said, the Dolphins have a lot of picks already, and they're just trying to get talent. But I think 12 would be the spot, and Freeling is a guy that I would like. Maybe you just trade your third round pick, your third round pick next year forever. Just every draft going forward, just trade your future third round pick. I think it's in play. I agree.
Okay, cool. Anyways, Iana Shore is off the board. We're going to the Minnesota Vikings at 18. We can kind of move a little bit quicker here than we have been since these picks mean less for the Detroit Lions. Technically, they mean nothing for the Detroit Lions in the first round. But Minnesota Vikings, they need a running back, they need a center, they need some defensive interior, and they need a safety. Kind of feels like a perfect fit for Dylan Tienneman to just go take over for Harrison Smith and play there for the next 15 years. But what do you think?
I agree. I mean, just give a guy like that to Flores and see what he does with him.
Yeah. All right. We won't think too hard about that one. Carolina Panthers at pick number 19. They need a wide receiver, tight end, center, and defensive interior. What are your thoughts here? They got Mekhi Lemon. I mean, Mekhi Lemon feels like might be a slam dunk. They kind of got the Jordan Tyson frame with Ted McMillan last year. Could they be in the mix for a key Mesidor? Who'd they just pay? Jalen Phillips? Maybe not.
$1 million. Actually, a lot more than $1 million. $1 bajillion.
Yeah. Are they? I mean, could Caden McDonald come up and be in play for the Panthers at 19?
Maybe someone like him.
Peter Woods, Caleb Banks,
Christian Miller. Like he's a good run defender. To pair with the defense tackle that they currently have there, that I can't remember his name, from Auburn, Brown, right? Derek Brown.
Yes. Yeah.
Who's one of the best run stuffers in the league. It's funny. I want to do Lemon, but I'm like, is that redundant with Jalen Coker? But will Jalen Coker stop me from picking McCall? Like, you know what I mean?
He should not.
I don't know. I would have done Sadiq. If Sadiq was here, I would have done Sadiq.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other tight ends I would have taken here. I mean, Mesidor is interesting as a guy who can maybe play a little bit inside.
A little, yeah.
Let me see what their
especially
general situation is.
Especially because Jalen Phillips is a little bit more of that speed guy. So as a compliment opposite him when he's not playing inside.
And Jalen Phillips hasn't been all that healthy throughout his career.
Absolutely.
So does that matter at all? I think it probably kind of does.
For sure.
They also drafted Nick Scorton last year.
And they do have Tershawn Wharton, who they pay. He was a little bit more of an interior guy, but he does big end or whatever, and they did pay him last year. So maybe not, as we're talking it through here.
Okay. Do we just go Mekhi Lemon?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Mekhi Lemon to the Panthers at 19. Up next, the Dallas Cowboys with their second pick of the first round at pick number 20. Their team needs are the same as they always were. Let me pull them back up. According to PFF, it is defensive interior, linebacker, and cornerback. Who do we give them in round one? McCoy. Okay, so we covered the cornerback aspect of things.
We did.
Did they go out and try to find the replacement for a guy that they traded away? Did they go out and look for a Cassius Howell speed rusher guy or something of the sort?
I think that's on the table. I mean, we thought about Thieneman for them. What about McNeil Warren?
Yeah, I could see it. I could absolutely see it.
I think that's a possibility.
Or CJ Allen. They need linebackers. CJ Allen. Who's the other guy from Texas his name is escaping me.
I know who you're talking about. It is
Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. I
think he's going to go earlier. I think we'll see what we end up doing here at the back half of the first round. Jacob Rodriguez being a first round pick, I think is I'm not going to call it likely, but I think it very well could happen.
Yeah. What do you think?
Can we be crazy and do Jacob Rodriguez?
Sure.
I'm using my pound the table on Jacob Rodriguez. I'm getting it off the plate.
Just because you like him, or just because you think that
I do like it. A lot of times, guys like him that are super duper uber productive in college, but maybe aren't the top of the class. You think they don't have the physical tools, but again, we're talking about combine numbers, and that's different when you have pads on, you're on the field. But he was uber productive on the field, and he did pass every measurement physical. He has the traits as well, in addition to the on-field success. So I don't see why he couldn't be a first round pick. So the Cowboys walk out around one with McCoy and Rodriguez.
I like it. Texas boy. I don't know if he's from Texas, but played Tech. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. Quarterback, running back, guard, and tackle is on their short list of things that they need. Let's see here. What do we have left from those standpoints? We got Blake Miller, who could easily go here. We've got Caden Proctor, who could easily go here. Let me see. Pregnon from Oregon, I think could easily go here. Caleb Lomu, who I don't know. When did he fall into second round territory? I feel like he's been pretty consistently up in the first round for most of the pre-draft process, but
I think of the 7 guys, he's the consensus 7 at this point.
Interesting. I like him. Let me see here. Chase Basatis from Texas A&M. I don't know. Which direction do you want to go here?
I think it would be if they didn't trade for Michael Pittman and already have DK Metcalf. Jordan Tyson would be interesting. He's fallen a little bit, which we could have that discussion with the teams that are upcoming. I think my vote would be Proctor.
Okay, as a guy who can potentially fill 2 needs at once.
Right, because you don't have necessarily a super glaring need at tackle.
Yeah. Okay. The Los Angeles Chargers, pick number 22. They need a wide receiver, a guard, a defensive interior, and a safety. Interesting spot for Emmanuel McNeil Warren.
Mm-hmm. Give him
also, a lot of these defensive interior guys like Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks, Peter Woods, these guys. Maybe you think TJ Parker can even play a bit inside. He seems like a Harbaugh guy, like stop the run,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I like McNeil Warren. I think that's my lean.
Okay. I don't know if I buy it, but
I mean, you don't have to.
No, I think I actually gave McNeil Warren to the Chargers in our last
one.
But this week I've soured on safeties again, so
I'll talk to you next week.
All right. All right, McNeil Warren it is. Philadelphia Eagles on the clock at pick number 23.
If they're going to trade AJ Brown, Jordan Tyson makes a lot of sense as a replacement. I just don't know if they're going to do that.
They're potentially in contention to draft a tackle as well. Like, do we give them Blake Miller?
Maybe it could be. I mean, they've got Lane and Mailata, but Lane's only going to play for so much longer, right?
Yeah, it feels like every year could be his last.
I think it's either. I think until they trade AJ Brown, I'm going to operate that he's going to be on the team because I feel like I don't know how else to operate with them. I think it's edge or tackle for me. And if you feel comfortable having a guy that probably won't contribute in year one, and you're fine with that, it's Miller. If not, we could talk about some of these edges. Mesidor's fallen a little bit. I think Howell would maybe be that speed.
Mesidor's gonna fall.
You just don't like him because he's older.
I don't know if I would. No, I don't. It's not that I don't like him. It's just, do I want to spend a top 15, 20, 25 pick on a guy who's 25?
Sure. Yeah.
Which I think is a fair concern.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, yeah, he's not off the board for a reason for us right now.
I think I'd prefer, if we're gonna go edge rusher, I think I'd prefer Keldrick Falk.
I think.
Or Cassius Howell. I feel like Cassius Howell might be more of an Eagles guy. He did just lose Jalen Phillips, so you get that speed guy back.
Or maybe a little Zion Young. I don't know. Is Zion, who do you like better? Let's do Howell or Young, and you pick who you like better.
I probably like Howell.
Okay.
So let's do that.
Let's do Howell.
Okay. All right. Pick number 24. The Cleveland Browns, their second pick in the first round.
It's unfortunate we went receiver up there with them with Carnell Tate because I think Tyson would have made a lot of sense for them here.
Yes, but they do still have a couple good tackles on the board. I think Blake. Yes. This is probably the Blake Miller spot.
Slam dunk in my
opinion. Potentially the Caleb Lomu spot. Let's go Blake Miller though, because I think we both like Blake Miller a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Chicago Bears at pick number 25. They need a center, defensive lineman, and safety. Akeem Mesidor, I think, again, could make sense if he wasn't 25 years old. But again, maybe you're trying to, maybe you believe that all that tape you put on against 19, 20, 21-year-olds last year is legit. I'm not even being controversial, man. I'm literally just saying these are the things you have to weigh. Oh
no, I know. What'd you say? Oh no.
Oh, that was weird. I just got a random pop up. I thought the screen crashed.
Oh no, I do hear that on Mesidor because I am honestly not concerned about the second contract stuff. We as a society and I mean NFL. The NFL does not the NFL does not draft well enough that you could be like, well, are we going to sign this guy to a second contract? Let's worry. Let's worry about these 5 years upcoming. But so I'm not worried about that. But I am worried about what you said. Were you just good because you were 25 and that guy was 21? Or did you figure something out? That is
to be clear, same. Because we even talked to, that was one of the interesting things of what Rod Wood talked about last week of the NFL is becoming an older league just by nature of all these kids going back to school. This is probably the start of the new normal. Everybody's mad at Michigan basketball for buying a national championship. Guess what? Every team that wins a championship probably from here on out is going to be bought in some way, shape, or form. Are all guys going to be 25 years old coming out of the NCAA football forever? Probably not. But guys probably are going to get a little bit older. We're probably going to look back on this in 5 years, or there's a chance we look back on this in 5 years and be like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. But I think the fact that like he really didn't become a legit NFL prospect until playing across from Ruben Bang at the age of 24 years old, I think is concerning for me.
Sure. Yeah. No, I hear that.
That being said,
that being said, what are we thinking here?
I like Keldrick Falk.
What's the only thing that's given me pause about Falk is I feel like they already kind of have like different versions of Falk in like Sweat and Dio.
Sure, but there's not really. I don't know if there's like a sensational pass rushing edge guy that you would take here.
No doubt.
I don't
love how this board fell for Chicago.
Maybe Zion Young.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe CJ Allen. They just signed Devin Bush. If you like Falk, I could get on board.
Okay.
Because it's not like they're married.
I see what you're saying though, but at the same time, maybe Falk did have the different production, so maybe I think his lack of pass rushing ability has been maybe a little bit overstated, perhaps. Or at least pass rush potential.
Concerning. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I think it's scary. I think out of all the first round edge guys, he's like comfortably like the worst pass rusher.
Okay. Then we go TJ Parker. I like TJ Parker. I like him more than Keldrick Falk, to be quite honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to do Parker here.
Okay. All right. Buffalo Bills on the clock at pick number 26. PFF says they need guard, defensive interior, linebacker, and safety. They could be a CJ Allen pick. They could be Emmanuel Pregnon. They could take the first defensive interior player off the board with Caden McDonald, Peter Woods, Caleb Banks.
Could they be a Falk?
Kristen Miller.
Could they be a Falk or a Mesidor spot to replace Bosa? I know they got Chubb, but he's a little bit more outside linebacker-esque.
Yeah.
They did give him a lot of money. I feel like I want to get both Tyson and Cooper off the board before the first round is over, but they just got DJ Moore, so it can't be.
I'm not as worried about Tyson, to be quite honest with you.
Fair enough.
Like if he doesn't go, or if we don't get him off the board and then he does end up going in the first round, it's like, well, we did the best we could with the information we had. And it seems like people really don't like this guy.
Sure. I'd be cool with CJ Allen. You want to go CJ Allen?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Right. And then the 49ers here.
Whoever they pick, I know Grant Cohn is going to love it. If it were up to Grant Cohn, they'd probably be drafting a wide receiver here. Shout out Grant Cohn, the funniest beat writer in the NFL. Covers the San Francisco 49ers. Need a guard, tackle, edge, and safety.
I think I like Mesidor off or Falk here. Even though they took Michael Williams last year, it's like, I don't know, Bosa is getting older, and like Michael was okay before he got hurt, but I don't think any of that should stop you from taking an edge. So I think it's Mesidor or Falk for me.
All right. And I can see them going old.
Going old? Yeah. I mean, they're trying to win. They're trying to win.
They're trying to win now. All right. Mesidor is. Even though I'm not convinced that he's going to be a first round pick when it's all said.
He might not be.
All right. The Houston Texans, according to PFF, need a running back.
You ever heard of David Montgomery?
Curious. Center, guard, and defensive interior. What do you like here for the Houston Texans? The Houston Texans, by the way,
their roster is amazing. Like
scary.
They're my preseason. I mean, we're not even in the preseason yet. They're my April pick to win the Super Bowl. I think the Texans are awesome. CJ just needs to be okay. Just needs to be average. Yeah.
Which is not a guarantee because he's not been good these last 2 years. Ever since he told Caleb Williams to keep his head up and stop taking so many hits, it's been all downhill from there.
What if, and this is like projection, like I'm like might be living in fantasy land. Their defensive interior is getting older. Obviously, they have Hunter Anderson, which is like terrifying off the edge. Falk is like 273 pounds. He's huge. That's part of the allure of him as an edge player. What if you draft him, if you're the Texans, and you just tell him to like gain 10 pounds, and now he's a defensive tech, and now he's like a 3-tech for you, and now it's Keldrick Falk and Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter.
I can see it, and then with like upside of him like becoming a well-rounded edge defender.
Sure, like replacing Hunter at some point.
Yeah,
I'm
in. I see the vision.
Let's do Falk.
Okay, Kansas City Chiefs, pick number 29. Their second pick in the first round.
Receiver.
Who do we take for them the first time around?
We took Ruben Bain.
Okay.
I'm Team Tyson or Team Cooper. Up to you.
Let's go Jordan Tyson. Miami Dolphins. Their second pick is the first round. A lot of teams with 2 picks in this first round here. They need everything. I could see them going Avion Terrell. I mean, Omar Cooper. Who did we give them the first time around?
That's my vote. Delane. Yeah, my vote's Cooper.
Okay, so we already gave them a corner. I would, Omar Cooper sounds good to me.
Let's get him off the board. 2 picks left here: Patriots and the Seahawks.
All right. What does Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots need? Offensive tackle, defensive line, linebacker. Could they be in position to take Caleb Lomu?
I think maybe, perhaps. I mean, it depends how you feel. Like that will allow Campbell to move inside, but do you want to do that after signing Elijah Vera Tucker? Maybe. I think
there's some linebackers here. Where's my guys? Anthony Hill from Texas.
He's 86 in the
in
the PFF.
Well, I can't do that. They'll call me a dummy.
PFF will grade that an F. I think if you want to
happen for my credibility,
if you want to do Lomu, and then with the intention of maybe like moving Will Campbell inside to guard, if that's what you want to do, I would co-sign that. Or I think maybe this could be the first interior defensive line, perhaps.
Sure. Which one do you like?
Or they lost Chase on. What if they replaced Chase on with like Zion Young? Harold Landry's getting older. They don't really have a number 1 edge rusher outside of them.
Yeah.
You want to go
Zion? I like edge. Yeah. Let's do that.
All right, Zion Young.
All right. Final pick of the first round here. Seattle Seahawks at pick number 32. They need a running back. They need an edge defender. They need defensive backs. I feel like Avion Terrell is just kind of staring us in the face.
A little bit.
Colton Hood, I like a lot too. I could absolutely see him being the pick here. Chris Johnson from San Diego State. Keith Abney from Arizona State might be a little high.
I think
D'Angelo Pons from Indiana. Does he sneak up all the way into the first round?
Right, and especially because I think if you're the Seahawks, maybe you're looking for. I don't know. They have Witherspoon. I was going to say maybe you're looking for a little bit more of that slotty guy after losing Woolen, but not really because you do have Witherspoon.
When I think like stylistically, I don't know if this has changed at all with Mike McDonald, but like they under Pete Carroll popularized like the big corner. Like you have like critical factors of like he needs to be long. I don't know if that's changed with Mike McDonald, but they still have the same GM, so maybe some of those principles have carried over as well.
Sure. I think
I know Colton Hood.
I'm cool with that.
All right.
Get him.
Pretty good season last year. All right, there we go. Picks 1 through 32 are all set. Anything you liked, didn't like? Things we didn't get to.
I think Omar Cooper is going to go higher than 30. In my brain, that's something that jumps out to me immediately. I just didn't like how the board fell for Chicago. Like I just didn't know what to do.
Right. I completely agree.
So we had 6 of the 7. I keep referring to these 7 offensive tackles, but the top guys, so to speak, of those guys go off the board with Lomu as the exception. We had every edge guy that's pretty much even getting like much of a whisper as a first round off the board with Young and Falk and Mesidor and Parker, Howell. There's some other ones.
Part of me thinks we probably Well, I don't know. They're premium positions. I was going to say, part of me thinks we might have pushed the edge and tackles too far up the board in some cases. But at the same time, like I said, they're premium positions, so maybe it just ends up being that way. But I feel like, to be quite honest, if there was one quote unquote mistake we made, I would say a little more diversification in the positions picked in the later end of the first round, because I think those guys have been high partially because of the position that they play. Mm-hmm. And maybe we didn't have to shoehorn them in, but at the same time, a lot of these teams, we fill the need. So,
sure.
I don't know.
If you had to pick one guy, and I'll give you a couple names, we'll end here, that wasn't here that you think will be, and I'll rattle off some names and you pick one, and then I'll pick one as well. So Avion Terrell, Caden McDonald, Denzel Boston, Caleb Banks, Peter Woods, Casey Concepcion, Emmanuel Pregnon, Christian Miller, Caleb Lomu, Lee Hunter. Do any of those guys do you think actually I think they're going to be a first round pick?
I feel like Lomu, again, I'm probably higher on Lomu than most. I feel like he's got a very good chance of going first round. And then there was somebody else you named that
you remember the position
escaping me. No.
Pregnon, maybe?
Casey Concepcion, I think, has a pretty good chance to go first round. Wide receiver from Texas A&M.
Agreed. Also, because I think he has a very specialized skill set that not a lot of other receivers do, and maybe that particular skill set isn't as valued as being the the guy on the outside, but there aren't many guys that do that slot skill set, short yardage passes and whatnot, better than him this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. Let's do this again next year, shall we?
I think we shall.
All right. Thank you to everybody for listening. Go check out DetroitNews.com. We're going to have those prospect profiles dropping every single day until round 1 of the NFL draft on April 23rd. It's only 15 days away at the time of this recording. When you wake up and you're listening to this on Thursday, it'll be exactly 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. I can't wait. Rich can't wait. I hope you can't wait as well. We're super excited to take you guys all the way there. With our wall-to-wall coverage at DetroitNews.com and the Gridiron Gang podcast. Without further ado, see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you for listening.